Shalom, when the staff souls but giving no praise to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Kodash, double honors to the apostles of great most, and honors to you brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name, with whom the world ignorantly calls God, Jehovah, or Yahweh. His real name is Yahweh, and the Son's true name is Yahweh Shai, and only pray Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba meaning in, Ha meaning the, and Sham meaning names, Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai. Real quick, so there's a touch on this, so you're just meditating on something, because basically it's like this thing of ours is it gives guidance, right? It gives examples of how to how to run a society, things that work well, the things that don't work well. Right, and there's a precept that I had on the tip of my tongue, Lords can come later, right, which basically touches, on that idea, right. But basically, one of the things I was meditating on was just an experience that I observed at some point, right, where basically there was a company, and basically, and this is a true story. And basically, at this company, all of the individuals had to just basically like put their heads down, work hard, and after a few years, they would have got a lot of money, right? Several, north of six figures, right? Less than $500,000, but a lot of money. Right, all they tried to do was just to be like, look, man, cool, I'm gonna do this. We're gonna grind, right? And basically, at the end of it, we go and get some, some good money. However, what actually ended up transpiring was basically these people were following a career framework, right? And in that career framework, basically, people opted rather to prioritize their own selves and to prioritize their own career, right? Not really looking at the bigger picture, right? That actually at the end of it, right, they will be in a position where they don't need to care about a career for quite a long time, right? Which makes me think of this precept real quick. Right, it says Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish, right? But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Right, now what's the story got to do with this thing of ours, right? So I was just meditating, because I've never, thought about, I was like, how would we, how would we run a system? How would we do something like this, right? And then that's where, this idea of the fact that we're fighting for the same penny, right? So the issue with these individuals is they were fighting for their own vainglory, right? Which we can load that up as well, and we'll come back to Proverbs, right? This is Galatians 5:26, right? It says, let us not be desirous of vain glory, right? Provoking one another, envying one another, right? And this was definitely what I witnessed, right? In this particular situation, right? People were going for vainglory, right? And I'm just sitting there like, right, these men don't seem to realize all they have to do is work hard, and then they're good, right? But no, it was about vainglory. It was about envying one another. It was about, for them, they're putting each other down, right? And this is for this world's carnal riches, something that they can see, right? And the truth of the matter is, you've got individuals, right, in this thing of ours, right? So just making a note, real quick. Right, you've got individuals in this thing of ours who they're doing this for their own selves, right? They're not thinking about the bigger picture, right? They're not thinking about, the end goal, right? Which is the kingdom, right? Which is that same penny that we're all fighting for, okay? Right, we've all got that same destination in mind, right? Wherein we're like, okay, cool, this is what we're working for. Right, this is why we do these shows. This is why we go to the camp on the weekend, right? Once again, not of our own selves, right? Through the spirit of Yahweh, but it is certainly something where, like, this is the vision that we have, right? But once again, in this example that I'm giving of, these people didn't have that vision, okay? And it's, once again, the reason I'm tying this all together is because that's carnal work, right? But this is a spiritual work, right? Scripture says this. This is James 2:20, right? It says, but wilt thou know, o vain man, right, that faith without works is dead, right? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar? Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect? And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, Abraham believed the Most High, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of the Most High. Yea, ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. Likewise also was not Rahab the harlot justified by works when she had received the messengers, right, and had sent them out another way? For as the body without spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also, right? So this thing of ours is about, is about work, right? Something just came to mind, right? And give this example as well, right? This is 1 Corinthians 9:24, right? So know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize. So run that ye may obtain. Every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. Right? So we work and we do this thing, to basically try and obtain this incorruptible crown, immortality, basically. Right, but the same process, the same ideas and thinkings can, and in places do still apply, right? In the same way, once again, just to close off that work thing, just go straight into the precepts, right? In that same way that you get individuals that fight for vainglory in the world, right, as opposed to the bigger picture of the company, which in the long run, right, especially if it's a certain kind of company, obviously if it's if it's just like a dead end job, it is what it is, right? We get certain companies that have ideas to sell, right, at some point, and then the rewards and the returns for that sell, right, could make those individuals a lot of money, right? For us, that money, right, that payment, if you will, is the kingdom, that penny, okay? But in this world, people just much rather seem to prefer to take care of their own selves, right, as opposed to putting and having the same vision, right? So let's go into this, right? This is Matthew 20 from the top, right? So the kingdom of heaven is like a man that is an householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard, right? People working, right? It says, and when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard, right? And went out about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and said unto them, go also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you. And they went their way. And when he went about the 6th and 9th hour, and did likewise, and about the 11th hour, when he went out, right, and found others standing idle, and saith unto them, why stand ye all the day idle? Right, they say unto him, because no man hath hired us. He said unto him, go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right that ye shall receive. So when even was come, the Lord of the vineyard saith unto his steward, call the laborers and give them their hire, beginning from the last unto the first. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny. But when the first came, they supposed that they should have received more, right? And they likewise received every man a penny. And when they had received it, they murmured against the good man of the house, right, saying, right, these last have wrought but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden and heat of the day. Right, but he answered one of them and said, friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst thou not agree with me for a penny? Right, take that thine is, and go thy way, and I'll give unto this last, even as unto thee. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with whom I own? So is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own? Right, is thine eye evil because I am good? So the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. For many are called, but few are chosen. Right, this this concept, right, that this precept's really going into. Right, I remember when the Mosai first brought me into this thing, right, that's something you may be thinking, oh, so you get people that are just gonna be, coming in the last days, and they gonna basically get the same wage. And it's like, yeah. That's what the Lord wants, isn't it? So that's what the Lord will get, right? And that's ultimately it, because at the end of the day, this thing of ours, the main thing that we're fighting for, right, is the kingdom. Because when all is said and done, right, and this place is destroyed, right, and lords will be of the elect, and we own them chariots. It ain't gonna matter. It ain't gonna matter. you know. We're just gonna be praising, palms in our hands. We're just gonna be like, yeah, this is what it was all about. This was the the aim of the game, right, if you will, right. This was all that we work for, the payment, right, that we deserve. Okay, so yeah, like I said, it was just kind of wanted to get into that, right, real quick, because I saw certain parallels, right, between this once again, this idea of we've got a common goal, right, which means that we work well together. Right now, we're men. Every now and then we go and have our our differences or whatever, right, but when all is said and done, right, what's the goal, what's the aim, right? The aim is to teach Yahushua, right, to obedient to be obedient to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, okay, which is to teach and to lay down this work, right, this groundwork, such that when the Lord comes, right, he can be, what's the word I'm looking for, basically he can find us working, man. Okay, so yeah, nothing's really coming to mind right now. What you call it? I got a few on the tip of my tongue, but yeah, it is where it is. So Lord's will, as always, Lord's will, that was edifying. Till next time we say Shalom.